Good evening and welcome to the program, The Talk with Tari. And my name is Tabani Gambiza. I'm your guest, our host this evening, and standing in for Tariro Makanga, where we are in the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. We started on the 25th of November up until the 10th of December. Stay tuned for a power-packed discussion where I'll be talking to Rudo Mashingaite, who is the lead trainer for Adult Rep Clinic. Good evening, Rudo, and welcome to the program this evening.
Thank you so much, Tabani. Good evening, Zimbabwe.
In a period where globally the world commemorates 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, what then is GBV?
Thank you, Tabani. Gender-based violence is this whole spectrum of aspects of violence that are perpetuated on an individual because of their gender, be it male or female. Of course, the bias mostly is towards female, maybe because they report more, but it refers to various forms of violence. They could be economic, they could be emotional, they could be physical violence, which is what most people commonly think about. There's also sexual violence, child sexual abuse, particularly is an aspect that we are looking at even under GBV. So commonly it's known as GBV. There are various other aspects, but what we want to focus on, especially in this 16 days of activism campaign, is child sexual abuse as a form of gender-based violence.
I know you have explained quite a lot in terms of what GBV is all about, and I picked that there's also child marriages, there's sexual assault and everything else. What is a child marriage?
Children, according to international laws, a child is any individual that is under the age of 18. So any individual under the age of 18 that is deemed to be in a marriage is going through a child marriage. And a marriage in this sense is not necessarily when they go into a court and they sign legal papers. It's whatever a marriage is in our context, be it in the customary context or to some extent living in with a partner is a form of child marriage.
What would you say are the major causes of child marriages?
For me, it's ignorance, Tabani. Ignorance, because the moment you define a child, they are under 18. What do they have to offer to a marriage? What is it that we consider the institute of marriage? It's not just about the conjugalities. It's about the responsibilities. It's about the obligations to bring forth children into the world. It's about your economic responsibilities. I mean, 18, no matter how big they look, but at 18, a child is indeed just that, a child, and they've barely finished basic education. They haven't grown intellectually. So when this child is, in my perspective, forced into or ushered into or coerced into a marriage, for me, that's blatantly illegal.
What can be done to address these major causes or this major problem?
Before we think about how we are going to address it, I think the issue is, if this is an issue of ignorance, how many of us are even aware? We need to push this awareness. This is an issue between children versus adults. How many adults are aware of what's going on around them? How many adults are aware of the implications? Do we even consider them as implications? How many adults are empowering children to stand up against it? Parents that are ushering their children into these marriages for economic reasons. Religious sex, they think it's for spiritual benefits. So I think the number one thing we need to talk about is awareness, especially on the part of the adults, because and obviously they ought to know better.
How can communities assist in protection of child marriages, seeing as to how we don't live in a vacuum, we all live in a community setup? How or what can communities do to protect girl child from child marriage?
I think we need to go back to where we came from. Of course, with the way the world has been spinning with all the examples you just gave, there's also the issue of child rights. But people talk about child rights and they forget about to talk about the child's obligations, and the parents' safeguarding of those rights does not in any way demean the responsibility of a parent. Just because this child has rights, it doesn't mean they can go freewheeling and the parent can sit back and say, your rights will protect you. So like you correctly said, there is a need for parents to stand up and step out of this new comfort zone that we've just blended into. Just because there's social media, we are regarding social media as the child's upbringer. We are expecting the church to instill values that we are not instilling from home. We're expecting the school to instill values that we are not instilling from home. And we're expecting to see a miracle child emerging at age 18 and under 18, expecting that child to be a member of some family just because we got a car, really.
How can families protect their children from child marriages, seeing as to how now we have kids that have finished their O-levels, A-levels, we have grade 7s as well. There's the holiday season coming up, festive season, we have COVID-19. How can we assist? Maybe elaborate more on practical tips that families or mothers and fathers can then learn where we are and where we are going in terms of this great holiday that's coming up.
So yes, there's a lot of talk, but how many of us are actually listening? I'm happy that we have been given this opportunity to talk about it on national television. And for those of our parents and guardians that are listening, what are you doing about it in your own homes? You know, you can use a platform such as this, this recording as a means to start the conversation with your children. What do you think about it? We coming towards the end of the strangely balanced school term, but towards the end of the year, there's a hype in adolescents ending up in marriage just because they didn't come back home on time. But we need to address these issues before they happen. We need to start talking about this. We need the parents to start talking to these kids, and we need the kids to start talking amongst themselves and to come up with positive peers that will guide them and draw the lines by themselves.
As we round off the first segment, there are so many things that we discussed. We spoke about what GBV is all about. Then we narrowed it down to child marriages. We also spoke about the ignorance part in terms of the adults when we are faced with this problem of child marriages, and quite a number of things. And like I said, we have a power-packed discussion. My name is Tabani Gambiza. Stay tuned for the second segment. Welcome back to our second segment. For those that have just joined us, my name is Tabani Gambiza, your guest host, and standing in for Tariro Makanga. And you know, we spoke about quite a lot of things in the first segment where we were discussing what GBV is all about and child marriages. But now we want then to talk about what communities are doing, Sisrudo, in terms of ensuring that we curb this problem of child marriages. What are communities doing?
Not enough from where I'm standing. Maybe we grew up in a different era, but where I grew up, any adult was in the stead of your parent. And wherever you go, whatever you're trying to sikisa, you would always keep your eye on which adult down this street is watching. Because communities were responsible for raising the children. And this is Africa. And this is what Africa was built on. So now, unfortunately, there's this whole social divide where everybody is concerned about minding their own business. But we need to interrogate amongst ourselves in our various communities, church clubs, in our various communities, Kwatino Sangana Madzimai, in our networks. Now our networks are mostly in the virtual spaces. But we see these kids going up and down. And it's sad that you see Mwanawa Ningi dating Sekuruva Ningi, And just because there's this whole mind your own business thing, click yakatanga mazuano, people are not really concerned. But I feel that communities, we are responsible for looking out for each other. What is happening to these kids is our responsibility. Today it is your neighbor's child. How do you know? Perhaps they are in it with your child. And when you protect negative behavior settings, you are in actual fact gatekeeping and perpetuating. Remember, we said right at the beginning, Kuti, these children are exactly that, children. Abatozivi. They are young, they do not have the capacity to make an informed decision. But those of us in the community that are adults, ngapabvurike that line to say, because I am an adult, I know better. And I know that this path that you are choosing will probably lead you to really detrimental. So communities stand up, families stand up. There's a part of us that has been absorbed by Chirongo. There's a part of us that has been frightened by child rights. But there's still the part of us that is going to bear the consequences if my own child ends up in this early marriage, ends up sexually assaulted because ndandiri busy ndichita chirungu. So what the campaign here is, amai simukai, let's bring it home. The communities are made up of these parents. They are made up of vanasekuru, the uncles. When we are having my sleepovers, for instance, how much do we really vet where we are taking our children? You can still be cool mommy, but I'm advocating for cool mommy that empowers a child to know that there is a line to be drawn, that there is a line that shouldn't be crossed. Once you socialize your children in that aspect, you are able to say, okay, if any of my child does not listen to that lady next door, at least I can trust that if she's dating so-and-so, she knows where to start, where to stop. She can draw the line. So this is the biggest challenge that we are having. We are allowing the kids to go free. And at the same time, we are not empowering them with negotiating skills for safe sex. We are not empowering them even with issues of abstinence. We are not empowering them with their sexual and reproductive health rights. We are expecting the world to pick up and fill in the gaps while we are busy on social media watching somebody else's kids.
Quite a number of people are then saying, because of the mind your own business and everything, where the communities now are not coming out there and ensuring that the children in the maybe streets are well protected with the mothers and the fathers of that particular community. How then are we supposed to help as communities? Are we supposed to sit down as fathers and mothers and maybe form groups where we talk about these things, probably have a braai with the kids, the adolescents, the teenagers that are in the community, and then probably share ideas and values that we used to do or that we used to keep back in the day?
It's very possible, and you've just brought up a very good idea. From various experiences, we have seen where it works, where parents take the lead. And this time, when a child has done something wrong, especially a girl child, the blame is almost often on the mother. It doesn't matter whether you're in Zimbabwe or in Massachusetts, where I incidentally come from. But whenever a girl child has done wrong, the blame is on the mother. But this time around, we are saying, fathers, before you apportion blame, do your part. What have you instilled in this woman, in this young girl? Because when a girl has been engaged in this child marriage, in sexual assault, in gender-based violence, it is being done to her by a male that she became vulnerable to, maybe in pursuit of money, maybe in pursuit of things, maybe in pursuit of attention, joy, a hug. So many things that are happening in these young girls' lives, and they find solace in the arms of a man. Nature somehow has led it that way. But we are pushing for a time in which the first man that a girl should draw confidence from is the man that brought her into the world. Kana if the father figure is not there, kosekuru morikupi, uncle morikupi, whoever that man is, that is the father figure in her life, must be the one to positively affirm her femininity. Ndiye kana mwana achidya ice cream, she must enjoy ice cream. She must not vunduka ice cream yawo yana sugar daddy, because my dad has provided all. Kana achizoita makeup, if she's going to dress fabulous. I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, my grade 7, wangu ashinda umalivers, and parents go all out. Mwananga afeke hembe $200 that has been bought by her father. Asazofunduke ye $35 yatengwa aku university or amu upper 6th by some strange man. So we are pushing for a time in which homes, and once Baba Matola that position, you are now saying to your wife, instead of blaming her, I have positively affirmed my daughter in every possible way. Iwewe mudzimai kana chibatirana, also take your position and make sure kuti urukujegera what the father has instilled as confidence. By the time you talk about intellect, you know that I'm building my daughter's future, because she understands kuti everything else that is worldly, as the father, I am able to provide. So she will not be intimidated by the next man coming down the road.
So as we round off the second segment, we then realize that communities also have a part to play in terms of how we then bring up our children, because one's child in a community is a child for all. That is what they say. So we spoke about and highlighted mainly on how fathers and mothers can come together and ensure that we curb this problem of child marriages. So I know and I believe where you are, the onus is now on you, the adult, to then come together as a community, ensure that these kids are empowered. I think we need to empower their minds in as much as we are also part of this business of raising awareness in the communities that we are in. So stay tuned for our third segment as we come and round off on the issue of GBV and child marriages. Welcome back to our third and final segment on the Talk with Tari. For those that have joined us, good evening. I'm your guest host tonight. My name is Tabani Gambiza. And we have discussed quite a number of things in this show where we were talking about GBV, child marriages, how communities can come together and assist so that we raise awareness on curbing this problem of child marriages. And I know in this segment, we also want to tackle more about the practical tips, Sisrudo, of how best can we help each other. Seeing as to how we have the festive season, the kids have finished their O levels and A levels, and we also have the grade 7s. We also have COVID-19. What are the practical tips that you are going to leave off yours with tonight as we round off?
Thank you, Tabani. Let's bring it home. Yeah. Let's just have a festive season with a difference. We already spoke about daddy's role, uncle's role, big brother's role. If she's going to get a part-time job selling to flea market or whatever, go to a store like you are a customer, buy something. You're really good at this. If you can afford to buy an air ticket, well, maybe within Zimbabwe, but, you know, show her the finer things in life, whatever level. If it's a freeze it, ngariwe freeze it, every single day. Come wakabata freeze it, 30 rand. For you, my baby girl. For you, my princess. Mama, where are you? When you go to a kitchen tea party, you go by yourself. You come back, there are things that you can share with her. Isha, you know, this child, so-and-so, such and such a thing happened. Or we went to a graduation party. Show her the beauty that life can bring. Yeah. Bring it home. Family time is important. Sacrifice family time. It's not about the money. It's about sitting there with popcorn or maput, watching TV. Mazoano TV is relatively cheap. Listen to the radio, dance, tell your children, what are the moves that are, you know, on with Amapiano. Yeah. Even if you've got wooden feet, allowing your daughter to dance Amapiano and then explaining why she needs these techies. Yeah. And you understanding that's bonding time. That works wonders to positive affirmation. It works wonders to you being able to gain ground when you eventually need to tell them about the facts of life, to learn to draw that line, is because mnenge makwanisa kupinda into their headspace, play with them, talk to them. It's not just about going kumusha. If you do go kumusha, don't confine them to the aunties that are there. Take your kids to the river where you used to go as a boy. Tell them about things, you know, spend quality time with your children. And needless to say, it's possible that we'll have a lockdown. We're going to have so much family time. My gadgets. In your gadgets, find something that you're going to find in your gadget that is interesting, that the whole family will crowd around, or at least share screen with your TV and let the whole family watch around. There's no point in a family gathering around a TV and nobody's even watching. Everyone is busy on their gadget. If we don't engage, we are going to lose these kids to the world. We are going to expose them to sexual assault, to gender-based violence. We haven't inputted all these life negotiating skills in them, and it is only at our detriment. Where there is lack, even the child appreciates, and some children can actually hate their lives and their families and be desperate to get out because of that lack. But you know what? What can lack is what is financial, is what is physical. But where the love and the attention are there, it puts this child in a certain obligatory space to say no. Kwandakazvarirwa hangu kune jambwa, but my parents have got my back. My parents are always watching over me. Kana ikarira yepa next door radio imimba menyu musina. Dance to the radio next door. Do things together. So in terms of marriages, there's this huge discord. It's been raging for years. And in the legal spaces, there's a lot of noise around it because under the age of 16, a child is unable to have sexual intercourse. Does not have consent, whether they look the part, they look big enough, or whether they started, or whether they looked like they were asking for it, or did not specifically say no. You know, just the fact that they're under 16, it is an offense to have sex with that child. Between the age 16 and 18, our law kind of like allows for that child to be able to have sex, but does not allow for that child to get into a marriage. So there are issues there. What is happening on the home front is this child ends up having sex, ends up cohabitating, and before you know it, they are said to be married. When again, they haven't reached that 18 mark. Straight from the start, we have been saying the adult is the one that is liable. Ndiwo uri kuziva kuti this is a child. So the adult must exercise their maturity. And if not, there is this massive drive which is being led by Musasa right now, minimum mandatory sentencing for perpetrators, especially of sexual violence, of which this engagement, child marriages, sex with a minor, is part of the sexual assault. And we are also pushing, as Adult Rape Clinic, very much for this minimum mandatory sentencing. And we are saying it must be mandatory because the adult, you are an adult. Your role is to protect and safeguard the child, not to abuse your power over them and take advantage of you being an adult and this person being a vulnerable child.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sis Rudo, for a very informative and powerful discussion where we highlighted quite a lot of things that I know that most of our viewers have actually learned quite a lot. But what we need to do is now action, action, action. Let's put everything that we said into action so that we help each other. We also help our communities, we help our families, we also help our children, seeing as to how we are about 24 days or a couple of weeks before the festive season or before Christmas. So the onus is on us as we go about our business, as we go about our families, as we bring ourselves together as families so that at least we help each other in raising awareness on child marriages. My name is Tabani Gambiza, and it's been a pleasure being on the show and standing in for Tariro Makanga on the Talk with Tari. Hope to see you soon on another slot that probably they'll invite me again. My name is Tabani, and happy viewing.